Okay, so we had a big patch. A lot has changed. So I thought now would be a good time to talk about the meta and do a tier list for the agents, because right now there's a lot going on. Now, this isn't going to be a ranked agent tier list. If you want to see an ranked agent tier list, basically just go on tracker.gg and sort by win rate. And apart from maybe a couple agents like Vice or whatever, it will largely probably be the same. So yeah, that's that. But this is going to be a pro play tier list that I think is quite difficult to do, because it will depend quite a lot. And there's, some of you will disagree with some of the things I'm about to say. Let's just put it that way. I'm pretty sure about that, because you always do. Anyway, Astra, let's start there. Obviously, Astra wasn't in a great spot to begin with, and obviously got nerfed. Now, I'm of the opinion that if they didn't nerf the Astra smokes as well, if they would have kept Astra smokes at 25 and Omens were 40, then I think we're cooking a little bit, right? Then you're like, actually, we might now play Astra. The fact that they did nerf the smokes as well, though, means that you're still going to see Omen over Astra, unfortunately. So, Astra, I'm going to put in the C tier. Breach. I've talked about Breach's win rate a lot. It's not good in pro level. He also got nerfed pretty heavily. So, he's going down here. So, yeah. Breach, I think, might end up being at the bottom of this list. Brim. Brim, look, he's only ever going to get played on the maps that he already gets played on. But that means that he's probably like top of the C tier, because I don't think you'll ever see play on those other maps. Chamber. Now, here is one that I think people are going to disagree with me with. Okay? Because I think, having seen a lot of the other Sentinel nerfs, Chamber was the one who kind of survived, who didn't get nerfed in any significant way. So you might be thinking like, oh, this is a good time for Chamber. And if you remember, Chamber got buffed, recently as well with the trip nerf that it now has global range as well. So you might be like, oh, this is Chamber's time. I still am not that big of a Chamber believer in terms of actually becoming meta. And I know that might be a bit of a hot take, but I have basically two reasons for that. And it's these two agents at the end of this list. And the reason that I say that is, one, Yoru I still think will be good. Spoiler alert for later on. But I still think Yoru will be good. And therefore, you kind of already have that agent who's, going to be aggressive maybe with an op and TP away. I also think they just released an agent who might also just be better for doing that as well, right? And gives you a little bit more in general, right, in terms of vetoes. So for that reason, I'm going to put Chamber at the top of the C tier. This patch was good for Chamber, don't get me wrong, but I think that the release of Veto is a big problem for him. Okay, Clove. Clove, and Sideshow asked me this yesterday, could Clove actually see some pro play now, with these nerfs to the other agents? And I'm still on the side of no. Mainly because of how long the Clove smokes last. I just don't think it'll happen. I still think Omen is good enough. I still think you'd rather play Omen. Cypher. Again, this might be a little bit of a hot take. The spy cam nerf of you can see it when you're really close to it, I don't actually think is that big of a deal. Because it still tells you if someone is there, right? Like, if you put a camera somewhere and someone just then goes up and breaks it before you even look with it, well, then you'll probably know, oh, there is someone there. And you'll still know that they've broken it, right? So it still is giving you some info, even if it's not perfect info. The trip nerf will matter more. But I do think that people got pretty good about playing against kill trip setups anyway. So, with that in mind, I actually don't think that the Cypher nerfs are going to affect him as much as you would think, because I still think he provides quite a bit of value. I still think Cypher's pretty good. I'm going to put him in A tier. Deadlock. The nerf does hurt Deadlock. Deadlock just struggles in a meta where everyone's going to be playing Omen and everyone's going to be playing Yoru. And maybe now a lot of people are going to be playing Veto as well, or Chamber. And so you Gravnet them and they just TP away. Right, Fade. And we can probably talk about Fade and Sova together, because obviously they were kind of the good initiator agents. I personally am still on the plane of you will still want a recon. Well, you're going to probably pick one initiator, and it's probably going to be Fade or Sova, depending on the map. Had they just nerfed these two with the cooldowns, had they just said, the cooldowns of Sova and Fade are going to 60 and no one else's is, then we might end up in, an interesting initiator meta. As it is, though, I still think I have to put them in A tier. Gecko is going down here next to Breach. Sorry. Harbor, we don't need to speak about much either. He's going down here too. ISO. Again, ISO is one of them. He did get a small nerf to his ult, but overall not so much. I still think with the introduction of kind of Yoru Waylay and what DRX showed there, Neon Yoru, I think people basically just figured out, like, it's better just to have, you know, Waylay or Neon or whoever else is your second duelist. I'll still put him in C tier as, like, you know, a playable option. Jett, I think, has been in the B tier forever, and despite other duelists getting nerfed, I still think some of them are I would rather play than Jett, but Jett is still fine, right? And we'll go in the B tier. And of the initiators who did get nerfed, KO, I think, is the one that got kind of like a fairly significant buff back in his favor, right? Which is the change to the underhand flash. So I do think he is gonna survive better than, you know, like the Geckos and Breaches of the world. So I'm gonna put him in B tier as well as an agent that, like, you could play. Killjoy, again, versus Cypher and versus Vice, Killjoy, you know, survived better. I probably would have put Killjoy in the C tier before, but now as an option, I think Killjoy is probably B tier. Now Neon again is an interesting one because the like energy nerf, it is a significant nerf, right? That is a significant nerf. However, I still think that the main things that make Neon strong, right, in terms of running in, sliding, killing someone, stunning them, getting the wall up, can still escape from positions, I still think that will mostly be true. It will hurt, it is a nerf, but I still think I would pick Neon. Omen, look, you're gonna have to pick a controller, and of the controllers you're gonna pick, it's probably gonna be Omen. Now, you could argue that with these nerfs and the paranoia nerf as well, maybe Omen is an S tier, right? Maybe maybe they brought him down to A tier. I'm willing to hear that argument. For now, I'm still gonna put him in low S tier just because there isn't a great alternative, I don't think. Phoenix can come down into D tier. Raze, again, versus some of the other duelists, them getting nerfed, I think Raze does go up a little bit, and I still think Raze is pretty good, so I'm gonna put Raze in the low A tier as well. Reyna can come down here. Okay, now Sage. Now Sage, the changes that they made, the wall health is less, but the reinforcement time is also less, which I actually think, and again, I'd need to see this in game, but I think that's going to make it hard for one person to break a segment on their own straight away. I'm not exactly sure on that, but we'll have to see how it works in game. But if that is the case, I actually think that's better in most circumstances. Again, I don't think Sage's pick rate is going to be massive, but I think I could see Sage as like a low B, high C kind of. Let's be kind. Let's put Sage in low B. Actually, no, I don't believe that. Let's put Sage in the highest of C tier. Skye. Now, obviously, our next two agents, Skye and Teo, by the fact that everyone else's initiator cooldowns, you know, got nerfed, and some of their other abilities got nerfed as well, they obviously kind of get better by the fact that nothing happened to them. I still don't think I would pick Skye over Sova or Fade. So I'm still going to put Skye in the C tier, I think. You would play Skye over Gecko now, I'm pretty sure. So like on Bind, for instance, if you wanted to play double initiator, you probably would go maybe Fade plus Skye. But you also might go for Teo, because I do think that all of his utility is good. I do think there might be a space for Teo, particularly if you're playing like a Let's Send It comp. So I'm actually going to put Teo in the B tier. Viper is going at the top of S tier, or well, we'll talk about Yoru in a second, but I think Viper's pick rate will probably get to, what year was it, 2023, when Viper's pick rate was like in the 70s. I think we'll get back to that, if I'm being honest. Vice, like, I think Vice got more heavily nerfed than Cypher, because I do think that the flash changes are fairly significant. The ult also got quite a bit worse as well. I still think Vice is playable. I still think Vice, I'm gonna put Vice in the B tier, because I still do think that Vice is a playable agent. That, you know, the Thorns are still good and the wall is still good. Vice is still playable. Waylay. The nerf to Waylay, I don't think is the biggest nerf in the world. I know I've been a bit down on Waylay. I think I'm going to put Waylay at the top of the B tier. Yoru is still going in S tier. I think he's going to go below Viper. Well, it's close. I don't know who I'd put one here out of these two, but you're still going to play Yoru everywhere that you can, pretty much, or at least I would. TPs are still so strong that it's just I mean, to be like, and Sideshow said it as well, like the obvious nerf to Yoru was taking away a gate crash. By the time we start VCT 26, I think we might be in that spot. And then Vito. And again, had they not done the patch and I was talking about Vito, I probably would have put him like low B tier or something, but I think with the nerfs, I do think he got a lot better. I'm looking at maybe like low A tier to high B tier now, I think, for Vito. Let's be positive. Let's just put him in A tier like that. So that's the overall list. Again, I know that some of you will heavily disagree with some of the things that I've said, but that's absolutely fine. And yeah, we'll see where we go from here. I would like to point out, though, with this list, that this high A tier, there kind of isn't a high A tier. All of these, I would say, are like mid to low A tier agents, to be honest. I don't actually think they're that amazing. As it is right now, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of these three, probably a lot of one of these two, and then yeah, maybe one of these duelists, and then maybe one of these sentinels, and that's going to make up probably most of the meta.